We are floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who always watches my six, is Dr. Paul Thompson. How are you today, Brother Paul?
Well, Commander Drew, I'm doing very well. It's good to see you again. You look chipper. Got a lot of action going on behind you. Don't know how you describe it, but it's colorful.
It's called putting it into AI and telling them to let it go. Yes, it is very colorful. And we're going to start off today with the quote of the day. And you like this guy, and so do I, actually. And he said, "It's not the daily increase, but the daily decrease. Hack away at the unessential." That's by Bruce Lee. Wonderful karate man. I mean, he's like the best in the world. And once again, it's not the daily increase, but the daily decrease. Hack away at the unessential. Bruce Lee. What do you think about that, Paul? You have some stories about Bruce, don't you?
Yeah, not too bad. Nothing personal. When he passed away, I was still a teenager. But yeah, for those who don't know, Bruce Lee was probably the best known commercially known martial artist who made a number of pictures, started from nothing, became world famous. He was also linked to another world famous guy. Commander Drew, do you remember someone named Chuck Norris?
Yes, I do. And he was just recently in the news not too long ago. I saw a good interview when he talked about his fight with Bruce Lee.
Yeah, they were in a couple movies together. The last one came out was after Bruce Lee died. But yeah, Chuck Norris was again world famous karate guy. Bruce Lee was into Jeet Kune Do is his system. But there's like a little only connection I really have is that one of my karate instructors, Master Kang Ree, was actually they were on the circuit together, and I remember seeing a picture of Kang Ree, Kang Ree, Bruce Lee, and Chuck Norris at some competition in Madison Square Garden. It's in black and white, a long time ago. But Kang Ree was Elvis Presley's last living martial arts instructor. I actually awarded him a black belt. We'll show a picture of that with Master Kang Ree and Elvis Presley. So it's a pretty interesting circle there.
Wow, Paul, you are something else. I can't believe you knew these guys and you actually trained with a karate instructor. I know how good you are. All right, everybody, welcome to the Wingman Show again. Once again, my name is Commander Drew Brown. I'm a Navy attack pilot, proud Harlem native, and a lifelong learner. And I'm here with my really good friend, my wingman, my main man, who's logged plenty of hours in the sky. His name is Dr. Paul Thompson. And we flew attack jets for the United States Navy. He flew A-7s, I flew A-6s, and later retired from the best airline in the world, FedEx. And now we're here helping people fly a little higher in life, bringing good news and motivation to everybody, Paul.
Yeah, that's right, Commander Drew. Got two Navy brothers from Harlem. Learned early on that flying jets wasn't just about sticking throttle. It was about thinking, adjusting, and asking the right questions when things got kind of uncertain. So you didn't make it through a mission by pretending to know everything. You made it through by knowing what to ask and when to ask it. Don't you agree?
You nailed that one, Paul. And that's not what I want to talk about today. Not airplanes, but AI, artificial intelligence. And the Wingman Show pushes this great tool. Now, everybody's talking about it, but here's the one thing that most people miss: it all comes down to the prompt. And what is a prompt? It's what you type, what you ask, how you frame that question. That's the fuel to the engine. That's the prompt. You give it a vague input, you get a vague output. Garbage in, garbage out. But let me tell you, when you give it a thoughtful, clear, detailed prompt, the answers can really blow your mind, Dr. Paul.
Commander Drew, that reminds me a lot about flying. The jet responds to what you actually do, not what you wish you would do. So if your input is sloppy and imprecise, the flight's going to be rough. You're not going to do well. But when your input is clean and deliberate, that airplane becomes an extension of you. That's the same with AI. It mirrors the quality of what you give it. And when you think about it, life works exactly the same way. So in some ways, we're flying our own personal missions all the time. And how we prompt the world with our questions and our attitude determines the altitude we reach. I think the best way for everyone to improve their ability to make a good prompt is actually to read more and widen your vocabulary. Does that make sense to you?
It certainly does. And we push education here on this show. And if you want to know the truth, that's deep, man. It's funny because people act like asking questions is a weakness. When I was learning to fly the T-28 Trojan, I asked every question in the book. Some were basic, maybe even some were embarrassing, but they saved my life later when things got tense. Asking the right questions is how you survive, how you grow, whether it's flying, business, or using AI. Curiosity is your compass, Dr. Paul. That's what your compass is, curiosity. Don't you agree?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes people forget the smartest ones in the room are usually the people asking the most questions. So you remember flight school? Some folks stay quiet just to look cool with their shades on or off, but then they crash the simulator later on. So that's what happens when pride flies with no radar. Asking questions isn't a weakness, it's actually a sign of wisdom, Commander Drew.
No doubt about it. I always say that knowing your weaknesses and overcoming them, that's strength. And asking questions, that's strength. But pride flies with no radar. And you know what? That's a wingman quote if I ever heard one there, Doc. But you're right. It's all connected. Ask better questions, you get better answers. Prompt better, learn faster, and you'll think deeper about who you are and where you're headed. See, this not only works with machines, but it works even more with people and with life. I really subscribe to that, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Commander Drew. AI is a mirror for your thinking, but life is a mirror for your choices. So if you walk around asking, why does this always happen to me? Well, life will keep giving you more reasons to ask that question. But if you shift it a little bit to, what can I learn from this? What's my best move? The entire picture changes. Your mindset resets, and so do your results. And that's the reason that pilots, aviators tend to brief and debrief all the time to assess what happened, what was good, and what was bad, Commander Drew.
Amen to that. Amen to that. You are right. So here's the message, plain and simple. It's all about the prompt, not just in AI, not just in flying, but in living. The quality of your questions actually determines the quality of your life. You need to be curious, you need to be humble, and you need to keep asking better questions. And that's how you gain altitude, Dr. Paul. That's how you shoot for the stars. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do, Commander Drew, and I think that's a good way to close this out. Even when life brings turbulence, stay kind, stay focused, and keep prompting the right way.
You got that, wingman. All right, everybody, keep your questions sharp and your wings level. All right, we're into our good news section, and we love giving good news because most of the media out there just gives bad. Well, not Dr. Paul and Commander Drew. So here's the good news alert, Dr. Paul. Guess what? The WNBA just got a raise. The new deal they worked out, that salary cap jumped from about $1.5 million to $7 million a year. And that's not a tip jar anymore. That's a real paycheck. And we talked about the WNBA and how proud we are of them, haven't we, Paul?
Yeah, we have Commander Drew, and I love it. It's great for them. For years, the players were wearing shirts that said, pay us what you owe us, usually in black or different colors. And now the league finally said, okay, let's start at least acting like this is a real business. And that's a big step for women's sports and for respect, period. Don't you agree, Commander Drew?
Yes, definitely for women's sports. And you and I are very, very lucky. We both had daughters that actually played Division I basketball. Your daughter Camille played at the Air Force Academy, and my daughter Taryn played at the University of Texas, Hook 'em Horns. And they didn't get it by being quiet either. They organized the WNBA. They threatened to strike. They sat in those long negotiations and they really held the line. That's a lesson for anybody listening. When you know your value and you stand together, the numbers start moving. That's how you get ahead, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, you're right, Commander Drew. So to our WNBA sisters out there, congratulations on the new bag. And now anybody out there who's underpaid and overlooked, you should take notes. Closed mouths don't get fed, and closed unions don't get raises. So, Commander Drew, is there any more good news you got for us?
Oh, yeah, I got some more good news for you. This is a great one, too, Dr. Paul. There's a new study that actually challenges the notion that aging means decline. The study actually found many older adults improve over time. And Paul, people talk about aging like it's a slow motion crash. Everything's supposed to hurt. Your mind's supposed to fade. And the best you can hope for is a good recliner and a decent remote. But guess what? Some new research out of Yale University is saying something very different. A whole lot of people are actually getting better as they age in their bodies and their brains. I say you and I are those people. We are actually getting better, Dr. Paul. Don't you agree?
Yeah, exactly, Commander Drew. Now, this study, they followed more than 11,000 older Americans for up to 12 years, and nearly half of them improved either physically, mentally, or both over time. Not just a tiny group of super athletes or celebrities, but just regular people. And here's the wildest part: one of the strongest predictors of who improved was what they actually believed about aging in the first place in their minds.
That blows people's minds right there, Dr. Paul. We've been sold this dumb idea that aging is a straight downhill slide. Not true. But when you stop averaging everybody together and look at individual people, you see a whole different story, a whole different picture. A whole bunch of folks in their 70s are walking faster, thinking clearer, even when they were in their 60s. And it's not just luck or good genes. It's also what's going on between their ears. I always said that, Dr. Paul. You live between your ears. You are what you think you are. Do you agree?
I sure do. And, that's correct. And if you grow up surrounded by negative stereotypes about getting old, with the jokes, the commercials, the movies, you start to absorb that. And when you hit that age, your body and brain start following that script you've been fed. May not be true. But if you carry more positive beliefs, like, I can still learn something, I can still grow somehow, I still have value, well, that mindset shows up in your walking speed, your memory, your health risk, and just your performance in general, Commander Drew.
Well, good. Then here's the wingman twist. There's a reserve capacity in later life. There is more gas in the tank than the world tells you. And if you change the story you believe about aging, you can change how you live aging. And look, that doesn't mean you pretend you're 20 again. It means you treat every decade like it still has runway and a lot of mission left. You have to live between your ears and know that you are not old. You just have more time on planet. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, you're right, Commander Drew. So if you're out there listening and thinking, well, I'm too old to start, but we're here to tell you the data says otherwise. You need to upgrade your beliefs, and your body and brain may just surprise you. So aging is not just about losing what you had at one time. It's also about discovering what you can still do. So Commander Drew, you don't even call it aging. You do. You call it time on planet, don't you?
Yeah, I just said that time on planet. You know, it's not TOP, my favorite group, Tower of Power, but it's time on planet. Remember, you're not old, you just have more time on planet. All right, everybody, here's your jet jolt gliding with no engines. All right, here's a little aviation secret most people don't even know. If both engines quit on a big jet, that airplane just doesn't fall out of the sky because of something called glide ratio. A big airliner like Dr. Paul and I flew, the 777, can glide roughly 2 miles forward for every 1,000 feet of altitude it has. So if you're at 35,000 feet, you got a lot of sky and a lot of time to work the problem. Stay calm and find a runway. That's how we live, isn't it, Paul?
It sure is, Commander Drew. People imagine that, when the engines are out, that's an instant doom. You're totally doomed. You're dead. But in reality, that airplane becomes a very big, capable glider to a point. And pilots train for that. We brief it, we practice it in simulators over and over again. You lose thrust, but you never lose control. You set the right speed, right attitude, you run your checklist, you talk to air traffic control, you're trying to work multiple problems, but you have to keep control of the airplane. And you use that glide distance to turn a bad day into a survivable day. How do you think this applies to us, Commander Drew, just in everyday life?
It applies to us very well because it's not just an airplane lesson, it's actually a life lesson. Sometimes in life, both your engines quit: the job, the relationship, and even the money, whatever it is. It feels like a free fall. But what you think you really have is glide time, time to think, time to plan, time to use your altitude you've already earned. So if you panic and start yanking the controls, you're going to waste your energy and shorten your glide. Dr. Paul, you got to think when you're in a position like that, don't you?
Exactly right, Commander Drew. When things go wrong, the first rule is to fly the airplane first. Don't get too distracted. So in life, that means breathe, control what you can control, and start looking for a safe place to land. You might not be able to make it to your original destination, but you can still make a good landing somewhere else. And as every pilot knows, any landing you can walk away from is a good one.
Boy, that they told us that all the time. And it's right. Fly the airplane first. So, everybody, remember this jet jolt. Even with no engines, a well designed airplane can glide a long way if the pilot stays calm and does the right things. You're the pilot in command of your life. Engines or no engines, don't give up your glide. You know, I had a skipper, Steve Richmond, in VA 35, and he did an air show. And he came by the carrier so fast that he pulled the throttles back so far that he shut both engines down. His bombardier navigator got scared and he punched out right in front of the aircraft carrier as the A6 was flying past it. Well, Commander Richmond came around, he landed with a pole sticking out, and he knew that he would be in trouble. But the people that they were doing the air show for said it was the greatest air show they've ever seen. So I think Commander Richmond got away with that one. I love VA 35, the Black Panthers. All right, everybody, check out those badass jets we got behind us today. Dr. Paul has an F4, and I have some crazy AI. I put it into AI. I want an F4 coming aboard the boat, and I want to make it fun. And that's what they gave me. So, everybody out there, thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening to us on Apple Podcasts or watching us on TikTok and Instagram. And we have a website, and that website is wingmenshow.com. That's WINGMENSHOW.com. And on that website, we have a newsletter and a frequent flow line. The newsletter this week is how to disagree without disrespect. That's a big one. All right, Dr. Paul, we're getting ready to do this frequent flow line. All right, Ace. All right, Dr. Paul. We are going to use this time to read the frequent flow line. And don't forget, ACE is not human and it's not 100%. ACE is a chat GPT. He's just an AI, but he is so good. And you'll see. This letter says, Anonymous in Augusta. Dear Commander Drew, Dr. Paul, and Ace. I'm a 26-year-old black first class petty officer from Augusta, Georgia. I'm stationed at NAS Oceana. I'm not using my name because a lot of people in my squadron now listen to the Wingman Show, and I don't need this coming back on me. But here's my problem. I'm dealing with some officers who really think they're the smartest people in the room, and they act like it too. They talk down to enlisted guys, they don't listen, and they make decisions that the deck plate sailors know aren't the best. And deck plate sailors are the ones who do the hard and dirty work. But if you speak up, they say you stay in your lane or you're not a team player. So, see, I've met some really good officers and I follow them anywhere. And I see you two as prime examples of what real leadership should look like. That's why I'm writing. But I'm struggling with the ones who think their bars automatically make them better than everybody else. I'm proud of my work. I take care of jets. I work hard and I know my job. I want to stay respectful and professional, but I'm tired of feeling like I have to shrink myself just to protect somebody else's ego. So, my question for you guys is this, and for Ace, the AI also. How do I deal with officers who think they're smarter than everyone without losing my respect for the rank or losing my cool? How do I stand my ground as a man and a professional without wrecking my career or getting labeled as a problem? Signed, Anonymous in Augusta. What do you think about that, Ace?
Oh, yeah.
Based around those egos in uniform. Now, the name of the game is being tactful while staying unshakably professional. You keep doing your job with pride, and if you've got feedback or a better idea, you do it respectfully focused on the mission, not personalities. If you hit a wall, find a senior enlisted or a chief who's got your back. They've been through it. And remember, you can stand tall without stepping on anyone's toes. You've got this shit, mate.
Dr. Paul, what a great answer from Ace. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say to viewer in Oceania, sometimes people there are people who are jerks. They're just jerks. So it sounds like you've got some folks who are very good, who are cool, and some who are not. That's just a part of life. No, don't act up and cause a problem because that'll go against you. You'll lose that battle almost every time. So the best thing to do is to do your job. You got to do that first and foremost, not get wrapped up in personalities. And that can be any profession. My daughter was in the Air Force and she was not a pilot, but she worked in maintenance. And she said one of the things that they would say to each other, at least in that group, in the maintenance group, was that they're amazed that the pilots, at least in that squadron, they're amazed that they could even walk through the door because their heads were so big. When she said that, I laughed. I said, That's about right. That's about right. That's about right." But if you're doing a good job and things are working out, just keep doing a good job and tune out the noise and look at, stay true to your objectives. That's what I would say.
Thanks very much, Dr. Paul. That's a great answer. My answer is first, you need to know the difference between an enlisted man and an officer or enlisted personnel, actually. The only difference is 4 years of college. That is the only difference between you two. And remember, people who look down upon you, that means they really believe that they're below you in something. So don't ever worry about that. And remember, when I was in the Navy, I used to go to my enlisted personnel first to find out what was going on because those chiefs know what they're doing. I didn't want to be some smart ass officer walking around like I knew everything. I tried to listen from the men who knew most of it, and they were the enlisted personnel.
This is a Wingman PSA. In the sky, your partner has your back. Now, let's get to it.
Climbing in now, systems green.
Now it's time for our favorite part of the Wingman Show, a Wingman PSA. From the 11 Facts in Life, under fact number 5, education is necessary. Knowledge, which is learned, and wisdom, which is the ability to teach, are mandatory. Education is necessary. Knowledge and wisdom are mandatory. You know, Dr. Paul, we talk about that all the time. You know, you can get a good education and still be a dummy. You have to know what you're doing when you take tests. You actually have to learn. When I spoke to kids in high school, I said, if you cheat on math and you get an A on the test, guess what? You're still stupid. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, well, you are stupid because you didn't get an A on the test. You got a no grade. You got a grade, but it was a no grade. So that was just a check in the box, and, you cheated yourself and you cheated everybody else, and that'll eventually sink you.
Here we are with the gouge, and I'm going to talk to Ace one more time because that Ace, he really gives me some good gouge. All right, Ace, I'm going to ask you to give me the gouge on the Wingman Show today. And this is the real cost of being too cool to ask. All right, every ready room has that one new pilot who's scared to look dumb, so he never asks questions until it bites him in the ass. So here's my question, Ace. Explain why, in high risk professions like naval aviation, being too cool to ask questions is actually dangerous, and in normal life, how that same mindset quietly ruins people's careers and relationships. Tell me, Ace.
Oh, you know it. The too cool to ask can literally be life or death. You miss one piece of gouge, one tiny checklist step, and you're not just risking yourself, you're risking the whole crew. Asking questions is how you stay alive and ensure everyone else does too. Now, flip that to normal life. People who avoid asking for help or clarity, whether in jobs or relationships, end up fumbling in the dark. They miss promotions because they don't want to look clueless, or they let misunderstandings quietly erode trust at home. Long story short, playing it too cool is the least cool thing you can do when you're flying through life.
That's great gouge. Thank you so much, Ace. I appreciate it. All right, we're now ready for our wingman story. And you know, the Wingman Show, we always highlight people who help other people. And that's what a real wingman is. And today's story is titled The Day She Saw Herself. She grew up in a neighborhood where the billboards, the TV screens, and even the posters in school all had one thing in common: nobody looked like her. And see, at 16, Maya could count on one hand how many black or brown women she had seen in real life wearing a business suit. None of them had ever spoken to her. Her heroes lived on social media and in her imagination, but not in her zip code. On one rainy Tuesday, she was riding a crowded city bus home from her part time job at a dollar store. She sat by the window, hoodie up, holding a worn backpack stuffed with community college brochures she's sure she would not ever use. And every brochure had smiling faces. None of those faces felt like hers, though. The bus jerked at the next stop, and her backpack slid off of her lap, and papers spilled everywhere into the aisle. Resumes she was too shy to submit, scholarship essays she hasn't even finished yet, she hadn't even dreamed about, she never said out loud. People stepped around the mess like it was invisible, all except one woman. A voice said, "Hold on, baby. Let's not lose your future on this bus." Maya looked up. Standing over her was a black woman in a sharp navy blue suit, heels, and a conference badge around her neck. Her hair was natural, pulled back with care. She had the calm confidence of someone who was used to making decisions and having people listen. The woman knelt down in the aisle, blocking the impatient stares behind her, and started picking up papers. "What's all this?" she asked. Maya mumbled, just some school stuff. Doesn't matter." The woman read a line from one of the essays out loud, right there in front of everybody. "I want to be the first in my family to work in an office where decisions are made, not just carried out." She looked Maya in the eye and smiled. "Oh, it matters," she said. "It matters a lot." The bus pulled into the downtown transit center and people started to file off. The woman sat next to Maya and introduced herself. Angela, senior vice president at a company Maya had only seen on building sides. In 5 minutes, Angela did something nobody had ever done for Maya. She treated her like she was supposed to be there. Here's the deal, Angela said. You're getting off this bus with me. We're going to sit in that coffee shop and you're going to tell me what you really want. Not what people expect from your neighborhood, what you want. In that coffee shop, surrounded by suits and laptops, Maya said words she'd been afraid to say out loud. I want to be you or someone like you. I want to walk into a building and not feel like I'm lost. Angela didn't laugh. She didn't lower the goal. She started taking notes. Okay, she said, then we're going to build a flight plan. Over the next month, the chance meeting turned into regular calls, emails, and check ins. Angela read every essay, tore apart every resume, and taught Maya how to walk into an interview with her head up, not her eyes down. She invited Maya to shadow her at work for a day. And for the first time in her life, Maya saw an entire floor of offices and conference rooms with someone who looked like her at the head of the table. She watched people ask Angela for answers. She watched Angela say no when it was needed to be said. She watched her mentor be both kind and powerful at the same time. Years later, when Maya walked across the stage to receive her own promotion, not just a job, but a leadership role, she searched the crowd and found Angela standing there, clapping, tears in her eyes. After the ceremony, Maya hugged her and said, I never saw a black woman in this position until I met you. Angela shook her head. That's the problem, she said softly, and that's why you're here, so the next girl doesn't have to wait for a bus ride to believe she belongs. See, in the wingman world, we talk about never flying alone. On that rainy Tuesday, a young woman who felt invisible, she met a wingman in heels and a navy suit. One used her altitude to lift the other off the deck. And because of that, somewhere down the line, a whole lot of little girls are going to look up at a corner office and say, of course she looks like me. Not, what are the chances? Just, that's my future. That's a wonderful wingman story. And for everybody out there who can hear my voice, whatever you think is important and whatever you think is beautiful, and most importantly, whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace, Dr. Paul.
I pray for peace too, Commander Drew. And we appreciate all those who listen, like, and share our message. Share this with one person that you know today or somebody that you don't know, someone looking to hear something positive. We'd appreciate it if you become a subscriber. That way you'll get a notification every time we put out a new episode. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, a positive review would be most appreciated. And once again, we look forward to talking to you in the near future.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.